Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Dawn Bowerman with Blue Chip Marketing, and I am here today with Dr. Ramona Stein of Sounds for Life. Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us again. And we're here enjoying the Rochester, New York weather.
Lots of snow.
Yep, like a switch. January 1st or something like that, it's snowing. I think we're going to have to move the seasons because I feel more like Christmas now than I did at Christmas.
Right.
So, well, today we're going to talk a little bit about hearing aids and buying devices over the counter. But before we begin that, I just want to remind everybody to look on the internet and at my website. Coming in February, we're going to kind of do some additional work with Kristen here at Sounds for Life, one of the other audiologists, on auditory processing. She was on Fox, and it was a great response to what it is, what to look for, and even the ADHD piece where, you know, you could be misdiagnosed for that. So she's going to actually be doing the test and evaluation here in the office, and we're going to be taping it for you to watch. So look for that information coming out soon. So again, today we're going to talk to Dr. Stein about over-the-counter hearing aids and what people should be aware of with that particular device or devices.
Right. You know, people are very interested in these devices. They're called personal sound amplification systems because they're very inexpensive, and hearing aids are a lot more expensive than that. So a lot of people will give that a try, give a personal sound amplification system a try. And I just wanted to talk about some of the issues if you do decide to go that route. So the first thing, and one of the most important things, is that these devices are not regulated by the FDA, and hearing aids are. So things like the amount of amplification they provide, that is not regulated in any way. And so in some cases, you could actually turn them up if they have an adjustment like that, and you could be damaging your hearing rather than helping it. A lot of people, loved ones, might think, well, you know, mom or dad or my husband or wife, they have a hearing loss, and they're not quite ready for a hearing aid, so maybe we'll try this personal sound amplification system. They might have seen it in a Sunday newspaper magazine or in a regular magazine, and the issue with that is, well, there are a couple of issues with that, but when something like that occurs and the loved one buys this device, the person might try it, but it might not help them at all because it really isn't customizable to their hearing. So they might give it a try and say, oh, this isn't good, I'm not going to wear it anymore. And what we find is that when people do that, they equate all, you know, hearing aids and devices with this device that they tried, and they say, well, I'm not going to try a hearing aid because it sounds terrible, just like it's going to sound terrible just like, you know, the device I tried. And so we're really unable to help those people in any way because they've already made up their mind, and really nothing you can say is going to change their minds about what a hearing aid could possibly do. So when a customer comes to see me, I test their hearing. I take a very thorough history, and based on the hearing test results, I will make a recommendation. And if I recommend hearing aids, I send the results to the person's physician for review. And if the physician sees, you know, by the test results or by my report that there's any red flag, any reason, medical reason that the person shouldn't get a hearing aid, then they will, you know, everything stops. They see the person, possibly treat the person before hearing aids can even be recommended, so or be fit. And so if you go for one of these over-the-counter devices, you're completely bypassing that kind of checks and balances.
Sure, yeah.
And so you could have something that either is medically treatable or that could be a very serious condition, and it just goes unnoticed, right? And so that can be very dangerous. These devices are a lot like the old analog hearing aids, so they make everything louder. And everybody knows somebody in their family, grandma, grandpa, mom or dad, who had a hearing aid or hearing aids, And because they were the analog devices, they made everything louder, and the person never wore the hearing aids because they really were, uncomfortable, and they didn't help. They didn't just amplify the sounds that they wanted to hear,
Here's the surroundings.
which
Yeah,
is just
yeah.
speech. They amplified everything that was going around them equally. And today's hearing aids are very sophisticated. They sample your environment. They are looking for meaningful sound, which is speech, and they are not really concerned about what's going on in your background. Like the fan, the heater's on right now. The person is generally going to be able to hear that, but it isn't going to be amplified equally.
Right,
with
as
our-
we're talking. Yeah.
Exactly. Let's see.
And I think that's interesting too, because one of the things that is very important is your hearing, and people take that for granted. So by buying one of those devices, you're actually, kind of cheating yourself, because you're not going to hear things the way you are, which again, we talked about earlier, could cause you to really withdraw from society, which is really
Exactly.
unfortunate. I know one of the things that's really important is lifestyle in a hearing aid, and you can't do that with those devices, I'm sure.
Right, and that's a good point. Two people could come in and see me, and they have exactly the same hearing loss, but they have very different lifestyles, listening needs, personal preferences.
Sure.
Some people like things as loud as possible, to compensate for the hearing loss, and others, don't like to hear everything that's going on around them so loudly.
So you got special ones for husbands.
Yeah, no off stitch.
It's so true.
But so the better way to go, if you think you have a hearing loss, is really to come see an audiologist and get a thorough hearing evaluation, and avoid places that are just pushing hearing aids on you,
Right.
because that's not always appropriate. So there are a lot of things that follow a hearing aid fitting. There are adjustments, there's fine tuning, there's a lot of counseling that goes on as far as appropriate expectations. Hearing aids won't make your hearing normal again. And so it's a very involved process, and it isn't as simple as calling at 1-800 number and paying $30 to get a device.
To get a device,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think the other thing that's really nice in coming to Dr. Stein's practice is it's a beautiful practice. The two audiologists are here. It's a quiet environment, so you can talk one-on-one. You're not sitting at one of the big boxes with thousands of people going by as you're trying to have a conversation about something that's very important to you. If any of you have ever had a cold, there's nothing worse than when you can't hear, because it throws off your balance and everything else. So, you come in here, you sit down, you talk about things. It's all confidential. You're one-on-one in a room. So I think that's another real important thing. The other thing I remember seeing on one of these devices is you carry it in your pocket. Can you imagine, like, trying to amplify the sound from your pocket? I mean,
Right. It's not natural
you could have
at
a
all.
paper in front of it, and it wouldn't sound the same as if it,
Right.
were out there in the norm. And they're quite large, some of the ones I've seen.
Some of them are, yeah.
And I know that's always a concern for patients, is the size.
Right.
So, again, it's very important to come to see your audiologist, also to have the test. There's some important things about having your hearing tested on a regular basis, correct?
Right. If, at least for a baseline, even if you're not having any problems or having minor problems hearing, it's a good idea to get a baseline, because then if something were to change, you kind of know where you started. What we recommend for customers that we've already diagnosed with a hearing loss is anytime they notice a change in their hearing, or difficulties with balance, or changes in balance and dizziness, or the onset of or changes in their tinnitus, ringing noises in the ears.
Sure. So that again is very important, creates that baseline so you can follow up. We've talked in the past a little bit about the fact that the hearing test is covered by your insurance in most cases, not all of them, but most cases the hearing aids aren't. So, it's just like going and seeing your physician every year. Come and see your physician for your hearing, good hearing health. And seeing a specialist is really important. I again, coming from the medical profession, I can't stress that enough. Now, in closing a little bit on that, too, that you mentioned, is care. We're going to be following up soon with some care to the hearing aid. What are some of the things that you think are important to I can't imagine there's a whole lot you can do with these devices, with wax buildup and, things like that.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not familiar with
I have to look.
a lot of the devices, as far as what their recommendations
Sure.
are, how they, I know a lot of the devices are actually not custom, they're like custom hearing aids, so they fit in the ear, not over the ear. And I really,
Well, the one I've seen looks like an earplug that you kind of, pop in. So.
right.
But yeah, so I appreciate it. We look forward to hearing more. Thank you so much for joining us today with Dr. Stein, and I'm Dawn Bowerman with Blue Chip Marketing, and we'll see you next time.